And now, please welcome back Kirk Weisler.
Wow, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. How was last night, yes? What about Manly Feinberg? What about that? Who did session evaluations? So these notes are like a 4-point font. Thanks. I couldn't read the notes. All right, so who got in late last night? Who got in late last night? You missed everything, basically. Okay, so welcome. As I noted yesterday, our theme is achieving new heights. And we have to do that because we're right here in the Rocky Mountains, yes? This gorgeous, gorgeous setting. This theme, Achieving New Heights, is intended to inspire all of us to think about how we can achieve new heights in the things that we do and how we show up for our teams, how we show up for our home teams, our work teams, and some of our personal aspirations, things that we want to get done. And our keynote speaker today is going to I just hit it out of the park. I'm just so excited to get to him. But we've got so many other great things we've got to talk about. So we got to pull together, strive to realize our potential, to realize some of these things that we can do. So let's review some important information so we can have a great conference experience. Number one is the badges. We need those stinking badges, okay? So you can't, does anyone, who knows what I'm talking about? What's the movie I'm talking about? Blazing Saddles, thank you, people. So everything we do today, you're gonna need a badge to get in, get out. So food, drinks, all that stuff, make sure you have your badges. Don't leave home without that. The expo hall. These are the hours for the expo hall. Make a note. Great things are going to happen in the expo hall. So those are the times we can be there, and there's food, there's vendors, everything's happening there, and the Passport to Prize giveaway, all that happens in the expo hall. Passport to Prizes, just a quick review. When you go in the expo hall, if you don't have a passport, you walk over to the left to the HDI booth, say, I need a passport, and as you visit each vendor, they're going to stamp that thing, and you're going to tell them how much you love and appreciate them being there. You're going to check out their solution. Maybe you're not interested. You're going to smile a little bit. You take a candy bar, some swag, go to the next one, get a stamp, and you're going to turn that thing back in so you can be entered into a drawing to win $1,000, which, right? Who wants to win? Who feels like that you're going to win? I feel like it's me. It's not, no, Tony, it's not going to, no. That's a false hope. Okay. You must be present to win. Can I say that again? You must be what? You must be. We love it when the person wins and is not there. It's like a private victory. We just tear their name in half and just throw it down and draw another one. It's a beautiful thing. If you need a little relaxation, in booth number 426, there's a couple masseurs, and you could go down and get a 10-minute massage. They did this last year. It's a great place to stop by. Make sure you don't miss that. Okay, did you know Denver brews more unique craft beers on a daily basis than any other city in America? 200 different beers are brewed daily in Denver. And that tells us a lot about the people here. Tonight, we're going to be featuring some of those very, very unique brews at the Craft Beer Crawl. And so you don't want to miss that at the reception tonight in the expo hall. There's going to be a great beer crawl. And so those of you that really have a taste for those kind of things, you're not going to want to miss that. That's going to be a lot of fun. The Solution Spotlight, if you're not familiar with that, there's an education center set up in the expo hall. And these three wonderful vendors are going to be sharing kind of a TED Talk version of their solution, how it can bless your life. And of course, every time you go to Solution Spotlight, there's a chance to win a $100 gift card as well. So it's just a great place to up your education. Okay. We love social media. So if you're a social media activist or you're not as active, we'd really like you to take a picture of your sessions. Use, hey, that slide, that idea, that concept, that person, snap, post. We'd like you to tag #SupportWorld or @ThinkHDI. Let people know and share your experience, and let's get the word out to our peers. And in case you're a little bit shy, we'd like to ask you a question every day. So here's the question of the day. What does achieve new heights mean to you? If you need a little prompt to get you going on social media, if you'll answer that question and make sure you associate those hashtags, we want the community to know that we're out here, we're having a good time. So please help us with that. All right, Lunch and Learn. The Lunch and Learn is a place where we can feed our body and our mind. And so you can grab your lunch in these two rooms. These two vendors are going to do a Lunch and Learn session. So you can eat in silence or you can eat and learn. Those are the rooms for the Lunch and Learn. And again, always a chance when you go to one of these extra events to be entered in a drawing to win. Not you, Tony, everyone else. Okay. There's also Birds of a Feather. Today, Birds of a Feather is by industry, so you can grab your lunch and go, oh, this is my industry, I can go over there. This is my industry, I can go over to higher ed. I can go government, oh, I can go private sector, I can go, right? And then tomorrow is by topic. So there's Lunch and Learn tables set up so you can have a Birds of a Feather session to talk about those things that are happening. Or not, you can just talk about the weather or your excitement for the beer crawl. Okay. Buttons, these are intended to be conversation starters, so grab your buttons, put them on your badges, and have a lot of fun meeting new people here at this event. The buttons will be on tables outside there. There's buttons by the registration table. There's lots of places to pick up buttons and add it to your swag bag. All right. Okay, confession. Who does not yet have the app downloaded? Go ahead, just own it. Don't lie to me. Steve, where's Steve at? Steve didn't have it yesterday. Steve, you're good? Steve? Steve, where are you at? I shamed him yesterday, and now he's not coming back. Oh, he's in the back? Okay. So get the app. You're going to need the app. The app does lots of cool things. It's got the schedule on it. Some of the presenters actually have downloads associated with their presentation. You can access those on the app. You can build your schedule on the app. You can connect with all of us are in the app, so you can connect with us. You can say, I want to meet that person. I want to spend time with you. I see you're there, but I haven't found you yet. Where are you at, my friend? So there's lots of things the app can do. It's got a little bit of AI in there, so if it sees that you're really interested in these type of sessions, it might make some suggestions. So definitely get the app and do a lot of things there. And we're going to need the app to take us to this next really important thing. So thank you, Mike. This is a box with a bike in it. And Wish for Wheels, every year when HGI does this event, whatever community they do this event in, they do a little research and they go, how can we serve that community? And every year they do something fun. I mean, we've created meals for kids that need meals, and there's just been so many fun things they've done. This year, they've partnered up with Wish for Wheels. Now, Wish for Wheels is a program to help low-income families, children, to have access to bikes and helmets. So they can enjoy the outdoors, they can get exercise, they can get to school on their bikes. And so there's a bunch of bikes in boxes. We want to take these bikes out of the boxes and build them right here. And there's two ways that we can lean into this program. Way number one, on the expo floor hall, there's a station where you can actually go in and build bikes. So when you go in the expo hall, you can see the vendors, get your passport prize, go, you know what, I'm going to put some handlebars on a bike. And so you can put some handlebars, not you, Tony, but other people can put handlebars on a bike, or I can attach a tire. And if you want to spend 5 minutes working on a bike, you can spend 5 minutes. If you want to spend an hour working on a bike and build a complete bike, you can do that.
That's one way that you can help. What's really cool is last night, the bikes were already in the expo floor hall with no tools or anything, just in cardboard. And a couple of you went over and opened the boxes. You started to go on this last night. And it doesn't start till today. So we had a couple of our people like, no, I'm going to build a bike. We had to take the bike away from them and say, no, come back tomorrow. The second way that we can help is this, and that's why we want this conference app. Every time you go to a breakout session or you hear this wonderful keynote speaker, you get to do a session evaluation. And every evaluation that we submit, HGI matches that evaluation with $1 towards Wish for Wheels. Can we give HGI a hand for that? Yeah. So that's one way we can give them a hand. Another way we can give them a hand is by doing session evaluations.
Can I invite you to commit to that? Will you commit to doing a session evaluation? Because think about it. Look at this room. Just look. This room is packed. If we all did an evaluation, we could break the bank at HDI, right? We could raise thousands of dollars for this Wish for Wheels. So lean into that. It's really fun, and we're so grateful HDI does things like this. Let me push this back over here so you can grab this. Thank you, Mike. Hey, listen. Can we give a big hand for these folks? Can they stand up? Can I have the advisory board stand up? If you're in the room, stand up. There you are. Come on. Don't be shy. There it is. There it is. There it is. Thank you so much. You know, the advisory board are just the people sitting around you, they're you. They decide they're going to, you know what, I want to get involved. I want to be more involved. How can I contribute? How can I help influence the agenda? What can I do to serve? And so that giving back led them to be on the advisory board, which led them to help build this conference for us. So we're really grateful for them. What about the speakers? Well, you're going to go to breakout session after breakout session after breakout session, and the speakers for those sessions are you. If there's any speakers, if you're giving a presentation over this next 2.5 days, would you please stand up right now? Any of you, right? These are our peers. These are you. Let's give them a hand. I'll tell that story later. So thank you for our speakers. And of course, we've got to give it up for our sponsors. We've got so many sponsors that help make this thing possible, who care about us, care about access to our community, who are looking at our community, they're looking at the future, they're trying to build the tools that can meet that anticipatory needs that we have out there. And so this is our diamond sponsor, Halo ITSM. Let's give them a hand. Please, yeah. What about our platinum sponsors? We love them. But don't forget about our gold and silver sponsors. We got to love them too. Yeah, we love them. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. We love our sponsors. All right. So this year, we're going to do things a little bit differently in that we're going to do and recognize the Lifetime Achievement Award. We're going to do that right here this morning. To give you a little bit of context, because about half of us are new. So I'm talking to the half of you that are new. And the rest of you just suck it up because you just listen. So these speakers that stood up and these advisory board people that stood up, they just came one year like you came today. And then for whatever reason, they just got more and more involved. And some of them have been involved for a quarter of a century. Some of them have been involved for a decade or 2 decades. And they've been volunteering, and they've been offering this, they've been mentoring, they've been coaching. They've been getting on calls to help organize meetings, local chapter meetings. They've been offering their wisdom and paying it forward. And every year, this organization likes to celebrate the lifetime achievement of one of those people who's been giving back and helping so much. So to help us introduce and recognize this Lifetime Achievement Award, please welcome to the stage Randy Salaya.
Good morning. Today we gather to honor a remarkable individual whose heart and dedication have left a lasting mark on our industry. As an expert trainer, consultant, and speaker, they literally have impacted thousands of support professionals around the world. In an era where customer support has evolved dramatically, this individual has been at the forefront, not only keeping pace, but shaping the future. Their knowledge has guided many in our field, innovating strategies with practical wisdoms that many of us have relied upon to enhance our own practices in the industry. But the impact of this extraordinary person goes beyond professional achievements. They embody a spirit of genuine care and commitment that resonates deeply with all who have had the pleasure of actually working alongside them. Their ability to motivate and inspire those around them is nothing short of remarkable. They see potential in every challenge and opportunity in every encounter. Furthermore, their commitment extends into their personal life, where they actually mirror the same passion and dedication as a parent, balancing professional and family life with grace and resistance. As we celebrate this outstanding career and the contributions that have so profoundly impacted us, we are reminded of the power of leadership that serves, that inspires, and that elevates. It is my immense privilege to honor my good friend and my colleague today. Please join me in congratulating Rayanne Bruno. 2024 Lifetime Achievement Award winner. You got this. You got this. Take it in. Take it in.
Thank you. You guys have me all emotional. I'm actually speechless, and I know some of you thought that could never happen. But thank you. This is why I've been part of this community for so long. So many of you I can call my friends. And we did start out that way, right? And actually my story starts out that way, and it does start out with HDI, obviously a lifetime ago. I want to tell you exactly how long. But me ending up in IT, that was an accident. I was starting my marketing career with a business school in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And that's where I thought I was going to be for life, right? Not there, but in marketing. And his wife had a software training company. So she was interviewing a lot of people that knew the software inside and out. And then she said, you know, they know it, but they don't have any presentation skills. So he said, take Rayanne, teach her the computer. So now you all know, I knew nothing when I got into IT. And so then I went into corporate America with Westinghouse in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania as well. And I was a trainer / technical writer and moved into being a project leader and then a manager. And then I had my eyes set on doing soft skills training with HR. So my CIO, my boss, came in one day and he said, Rayanne, I have a promotion for you. And on the inside, I'm like, yes, because I knew I was going to do the soft skills training. And he said, you are going to manage the help desk. I said, what? I said, Bill, I don't know anything about the help desk. And he said, Rayanne, you know everything you need to know to manage that help desk. I said, no, there's that thing on the wall. I don't know what those numbers are. I said, and I can't talk to people at the help desk. We do not speak the same language. And he said, you need to have words? I'll send you to the HDI conference. So that was my initial interaction with HDI, and I have been here ever since then in some capacity. But he did change my career for life. And I have to tell you, when I started to manage that service desk, I never thought about leaving IT, because what I saw were people who were so dedicated, so passionate. They wanted to do a good job. They wanted to help people. They kept wanting to make things better and fix things, and I just never wanted to leave. And this community has supported me throughout that as a practitioner. And then when I decided, I was in management a long time, and I was a director at another electrical manufacturing company, and I had been far removed from training at that point. And when I decided to go into business for myself and do training, someone actually said, why would you go back into training? That's like the first real job you ever had. I was a little offended, but I said, well, because training is not a job for me. I love it. I love it when people get lights in their eyes and they smile, and I also love when they come to a class together and then you see them at general conference sitting together and you see them going to these different sessions and people start to build relationships. And I just get so excited with that. And then they said, well, how could you stand to teach the same thing over and over again? And I said, because it is never the same. The people in your class make the difference. So I thank every one of you who has ever been into my class. He kind of scared me when he said it's been thousands. Hopefully it's been a good impact. And I really appreciate that you give me a chance to see a little bit of you achieving your new heights. It kept me inspired. It kept me passionate. Anybody who's let me consult with you, I always love how open and transparent and how much you want to grow. And I really love when you come back and say, hey, you're not going to believe where we are today. Or, hey, I'm still using that as assessment. It just really feels very fulfilling. I want to thank all the local chapters for embracing me as well, bringing me in, letting me speak, get to know your chapters, get to know all of you. We all have a long-standing friendship as well. And my colleagues, like Randy, who have become my personal friends, but you've been there to brainstorm, to support, to vent, everything, and to grow and inspire and achieve and just, champion so much. Thank you, HDI, for giving me this opportunity to have this career, because it has been so fulfilling, and I've loved every minute of it, and I love this community. Thank you to my family, my mom. You made me think I could do anything, right? And I've always instilled that confidence in me. And then my boys, Trent and Justin, thank you first for putting up with all that travel when you were really young. And then for now, just being here and thinking that what I do is kind of cool, makes me feel like a cool mom. And for being so supportive. I know you had to change a lot to be here for this. So now everybody who's asked, now you know why my family is really here. But I feel so honored. And then Julie with HDI, the account reps, Tara, thank all of you. Julie, you are a rock for the business associates. And really my achievement is because of all of you. And you help me achieve new heights every day. You've helped me grow, you've challenged me, you've made me stay relevant. And I just feel very blessed, honored, and so, so grateful. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. That was amazing. How lovely. How lovely. Okay. Thanks, Rhiannon, for all you've done to contribute to our community. Okay, now I'd like to introduce and welcome to the stage the product director with our diamond sponsor, Halo. Please welcome Gianmarco Rubiano. I knew your name, so come on up here. Give him a big welcome. Gianmarco, I apologize.
Hello, everyone. Wasn't expecting a full room to listen about the Halo way, but I'll adjust as I go. So yeah, thanks for making the talk this morning. What we're going to talk about today is, as I said, the Halo way. Specifically, I'm not sure how many of you read the synopsis. Not going to make any assumptions. Specifically around how an organization in the last 5 years was able to move from being a bedroom startup with 4 or 5 people to becoming a global player in the ITSM market. One thing I think is really important is that we're going to cover some of the pillars on how we structured our organization, how we run our business. And we do think that some of the elements that I'm going to cover today can be either relevant or at least insightful for the way in which service desks and support teams operate today around the globe. So just going to start by introducing myself. I was actually employee number 20 at Halo, coming up to 5 years at the organization. Started as a technical consultant, my first job out of university, moved into the product team, and right now I'm responsible for the growth of the product, I guess. One thing you'll see is we don't take our job titles very seriously. Another thing that's important, and I think I probably want to address the elephant in the room, is that we're very used, me and my team, I can see my team there, shout out. We're very used to, often being questioned or challenged, and the argument is often, we've been working in service management for longer than you've been alive, and the truth is, yes, that's true. We accept that, and how does that work? How does a team of relatively young, to some extent inexperienced people, we're able to achieve what we have. And the key element of this is the way in which we organize and run our operations. So having said that, since I started at Halo, just some stats. We have 6 times more customers globally, 20 times the revenue. We opened 3 new global offices, and we have a new open bar and slide in the office, as you can hopefully see. Today is not about saying how having a slide and open bar at the office is going to be the future of any workplace, by the way, but it does help. So in terms of talking about how we structure our workplace, just going to run through the agenda and what I'm going to cover today. The first thing that's important to understand is that the reason for our success is sort of inherently built in our organizational structure. We think long-term because we are completely privately owned, bootstrapped, and we don't have pressure of short-term results. We do find that Short-term focus can lead to increased stress and it's a detriment to the development of individuals. The way in which I'd like to present this is going through 4 main items. The first one is the culture. Probably a word you hear a bit too much nowadays, and if you're active on LinkedIn, it seems like a post every 2 is about company culture, but I'll try and make it a little more interesting. Efficiency, how efficiency is at the heart of everything we do. The importance of communication, how to structure effective communication, and then the concept of accountability, how every individual, every new hire, every new member of the team is responsible for the direction, for spreading the culture, and for continuing in our journey of growth. And we're going to do a recap at the end just to sort of cover the main takeaways. I'm going to start with the culture. As I said, extremely long-term thinking. That's how we're able to prioritize culture. If we were to get bogged down on day-to-day, there's this deal or there's this project, that would stop us from being able to actually cover what matters. And the only way to actually focus on that is being employee-owned. So everyone who has a share or stake in the company works directly, is directly involved with decision-making, and is in touch with operations. From a cultural perspective, that allows us to also have a very limited structure, right? Limited hierarchy. And we do see that around some of our customers and the way in which they organize their teams, kind of removing the element of one person responsible, accountable for everything, and actually being shared and empowering individuals to be able to determine the directions and the KPIs of their teams. The other important element is sharing success. The same way that we share accountability, we share success. If you were early to share the burden, it would never work. 2 key points, I think they're probably the most important ones in our culture, are what we called camaraderie and what we call siege mentality. I'll spend a minute covering both. Camaraderie is just about feeling part of a team, working with a group of individuals with which we share the culture, and therefore we share a vision. An example of camaraderie is, I'd like to challenge anyone in the audience, if they've ever seen a SaaS company that doesn't pay their salespeople commission. It's extremely rare. I personally haven't encountered it. We do not have commission on the individual deals. We have bonuses based on team performance. That's what fosters camaraderie. There's other elements of camaraderie, of course, around just being able to share the journey, and having worked together for 5 years since seeing it grow helps a lot. But there's actually examples in the way in which we are remunerated as well. And the other in siege mentality, allow me to use almost a football, or I should say soccer, given the audience analogy. Manchester United, a football team or soccer team from the UK, manager for 30 years, Sir Alex Ferguson. He really mastered siege mentality, and we really try and replicate that internally. It's just that feeling of grouping together, creating an us against them narrative. And how does it relate to culture? Well, the us against them is how proud we are of our culture, how proud we are of being able to go against the grain sometimes, question the way things are done, and finding a way to actually help us drive motivation based on that feeling of almost being surrounded by whether it's competitors or organizations doing things in a very different way. And of course, in terms of day-to-day culture, that also reflects in the way in which we're structured. There's no rooms, everyone sits together, all open plan. Our CEO sat to a desk next to an intern. It's very important, because going back to the reason we're able to actually learn so quickly and evolve so quickly as individuals is because if it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill, we have all done those 10,000 hours next to people that have actually been in the industry long enough, that have actually drove the organizations from the ground up in the early days. And the last 2 points I'd like to cover are trust and freedom. Again, if we talk about more let's go less volatile and more sort of specific, from a trust perspective, it's just recognizing everyone else's contribution, and that then leads to policies that are purely based on trust. No monitoring on presence, absence, ability for individuals to set their own salary, their own progression. It's very revolutionary, I think, and for us it works. And the other one's freedom, unlimited PTO, again, related to trust, but also being able to arrange our personal lives around what we're trying to achieve with the organization. I have a couple examples of culture. I added this slide yesterday because if you can recognize it, that's actually Denver. We were walking to the convention center yesterday,
And I think this is a perfect example of that shared culture that we foster. We're customer first. We've always been customer first. We used to be extremely proud of every new organization that joined us. And we saw a school bus. It said Adams 12 5-star schools, one of our customers from the early days. And the buzz it generated in us to just say they use Halo as we were walking past the convention. It just, the sense of pride, I'd say, in what we do is what contributes to being able to spread and share that culture. And the other example is a book, Ricardo Semler, a Brazilian businessman that completely revolutionized a company called Semco. And I'd like to read a quick quote from the book because, again, we send a copy of this book to every new starter, and it's a very good way to understand what we're trying to achieve. And again, I think the quote is very telling. It just goes, in the lobby of our headquarters, a standard issue office building with 4 floors of steel and glass, there is a reception desk,
but no receptionist. That's the first clue that we are different. We don't have receptionists. We don't think they are necessary, despite all our visitors. We don't have secretaries either, or PAs. We don't believe in cluttering the payroll with ungratifying dead-end jobs. Everyone at Semco, even top managers, fetches guests, stands over photocopiers, sends faxes. Well, we don't send faxes, but types letters and dials the phone. We don't have executive dining rooms, and parking is strictly first come, first serve. It's all part of running a natural business. At Semco, we've stripped away the unnecessary perks and privilege that feed the ego but hurt the balance sheet. And distract everyone from the crucial tasks of making, selling, billing, and collecting. Our offices don't even have the usual number of walls. Instead, a forest of plants just separates the desks. Computers and drawing boards in the work areas. The mood is informal. Some people wear suits, ties and dresses. Personally, I don't know why, but they do. Other, jeans and sneakers. It doesn't matter. People are allowed to be themselves. The second pillar I want to cover is efficiency. To be honest, I think this is probably the most important from an operational perspective. Efficiency is at the heart of everything we do. And again, I'll be much more specific when it comes to covering what we mean by efficiency. Extreme focus on knowledge transfer, being close to individuals with knowledge. Always question in every decision what the trade-off between cost and value is, and actually being able to push in questioning those decisions to new individuals. Importance of being in the office, we don't think that remote and hybrid working has to be the norm as and when it affects efficiency. So that goes back to being able to go against the grain and perhaps challenge some of the things that are given nowadays. And then obviously going back to the way we're structured, extremely fast decision making. We don't get bogged down with layers of approvals. There's a nice anecdote I'd like to use. One of our developers had to build an integration, a connector with Facebook, I think, or Instagram, a Meta company anyway. And they needed a SIM card, and we never had a company SIM card at the time. What they did is just went, there was other company 9 months, went, bought a SIM card, expensed it to the company. It sounds standard, right? So many other organizations would have actually waited for layers of approval, would have sat on someone's desk, and the customer would have waited a month longer for the integration. That's something we'll never compromise on. And then the last one is a bit in jest, a bit tongue-in-cheek. Shouldn't this meeting be an email? Every time that we're sat in a meeting, we question, is this meeting necessary? Is this actually the most efficient thing to make a decision or have a discussion? On the efficiency front, I think it's really relevant to cover this process. Quote, if you think people are scar tissue, you should see organizations. Each time there's a disaster, they create a process to prevent future disasters of that type. Eventually, they create a thick layer of these processes that prevents them from moving. Then they die. And the same goes with Parkinson's law, going back to that integration example. The concept that time expands to fill the time allotted for a task, right? So if you're given a ticket, to use a relevant example to where we are, estimated time of an hour, engineer is going to take an hour most of the time. Don't give an estimated time, make them focus on efficiency, you'd be surprised about how much they can cut on that time taken. Third pillar is communication. It's a balance between efficiency and communication. It's understanding that sometimes it is important to, go the other way around. Do not compromise on communicating effectively. And again, operationally, let's start with the bottom bullet point. The exact opposite. Shouldn't this email be a meeting? Every time that communication is inefficient, think about whether you could make it more efficient, whether it's better to get everyone in a room. And again, this happens every day, and we challenge individuals every day based on the decisions they make around this. And the other one's just around, being able to foster communication from multiple directions. It's not top-down, it's not bottom-up, it's a combination of the two. Decision-making and the way in which we build our strategy is communicated thoroughly to all individuals. And at the same time, individuals that are actually in charge of executing that strategy are fully consulted and able to communicate to, be able to contribute to it directly. The other thing that's very important from a communication perspective is your hiring strategy. Always hire based on personality. Communication differs depending on the industry, the team, what you're trying to achieve, but we want to have members of the team that will be able to communicate the way we want them to communicate. In our case, it's just being extremely straightforward, no sugarcoating, straight to the point, and therefore it's one of the first things that we address when we look at new individuals to join the team. Heart of communication is Brooks' Law. I'm not sure how many of you have heard of Brooks' Law, but it's a real working example how important it is to maintain a lean and efficient structure. Every new resource we add multiple lines of communication that, again, contribute to the efficiency. So it's always about the trade-off. Do we need the resource? Or is it actually going to make us more inefficient because of how many lines of communications are we continuously exponentially adding to? And the last one is accountability. Accountability in this case, the way I see it, is accountability of individuals and the responsibilities they have for their own progression. The first point around this is the extreme rejection of segregation of duties. Is everyone's responsibility at a high level for the company to grow? At a low level, not to miss a sales call. Another anecdote I like to show is our CEO and founder, again, the same guy that sits next to the interns on a daily basis, is so extremely focused on this point that he solutioned a way not to miss calls, and went around and we bought 2 Nokia phones from the 90s, the ones with Snake, and they make a very obnoxious noise when they ring, right? And every one of our global office has 2 of those, and whenever a sale calls gets transferred across because everyone's busy and someone thinks that they're doing something that's more important, they start ringing. They get answered within seconds because no one wants to hear that obnoxious noise in open space. The other very important topic around accountability is giving staff, giving individuals, all team members, almost the onus to improve their perception of the workplace. We all do NPS surveys in terms of staff happiness, but how much do we listen to feedback, and how much do we tell them it's your responsibility to advocate for the changes that would make you happier? And of course, sometimes individuals clash. We can't make everyone happy. Sometimes you have to make decisions. But informing them from day one that they will have a clear impact in the decisions that are made goes a long way. I'd like to cover, again, some examples from Megan Brown, CEO of a company, again, very active on LinkedIn. And, we don't have egos. We love our pillars, and we take them very seriously. But when we see something we like, we take it. And most of our, older folks that read this printed it. It's now out on our office because we love it. And it's about how important it is for individuals that join the team to understand that they are accountable, right? There's 9 examples on the screen. I'll let you read them. I'm not going to go through all of them. But I think it's very, very important to understand that that's what drives and determines success for an organization. And lastly, I'd like to cover some sort of takeaways and why I decided to present this and what we think the future holds. The first one is the importance of maintaining this mentality. That's where the challenge is, right? Growth and complexity that comes with being a larger organization is something that scares us, right? Look at Brooks Law. Yes, we do hire around 2 people a week these days. How are we able to maintain that mentality? There's strategies. Firstly is, again, every time that we make a decision around adding a new resource, understanding whether they're going to add and contribute. The other way is the way we organize teams internally. And again, I see this a lot nowadays with the way in which the service desk teams and the support teams have evolved. A lot of the time, they're smaller groups of people responsible for certain sets of support lines. And that's very important because it really helps keep the decisions informed and the communication informed within that smaller group. So that's what the future holds. We'll probably divide even further and go that way. And the other one is, going back to the example of the obnoxious ringtone, is never compromise on service. Doesn't matter how much we grow, doesn't matter where we get to, we will not want to miss a sales call ever. And effectively, what we want to get to is a point where our brand can be correlated directly with exceptional service. The other thing is a focus on long-term thinking, not compromising on that. And what I want to close with is the idea of being able to say that an organization in an industry like the SaaS industry is able to commit and have a long-term clause with no sellout clauses for the next 10 years. So the objective is not, grow as much as possible, get a payout. The objective is to drive what we call a futuristic workplace, drive this idea, really try and bring it forward, and perhaps, have other organizations take consideration, and we think that growth will follow. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. Thanks, everyone, for the first time I do this, so hopefully I didn't bore you too much, but I appreciate taking the time.
Hold on, come here. So, I just have to say this. I'm back there. I want to be so loyal. When you have a sponsor, a diamond sponsor, that give a presentation, typically, my experience, we hear about how much their product can just freaking take us to the moon. What John Marco did today by telling us about the inner workings of their culture and their philosophy, I just found that I'm back there taking pictures of his slides. This was so refreshing. Can we give him another hand? Right? Thanks so much. Thank you so much. No, you're good. Thank you so much. Lovely. It's so refreshing. I was like, I just have a man crush right now. Okay, so, all right. So thank you so much for that, and thank you so much for being a diamond sponsor. So let me introduce our keynote speaker, Kyle. This featured speaker, he's been called the patron saint of crazy ideas. Whether he's having a Viking funeral for the regrets of 21,000 people. Now, he burned a Viking boat with regrets in it. Or hosting the world's first fake marathon, or gaining 1 million TikTok followers in just 25 hours. Kyle is always on the lookout for crazy ideas that produce wildly outsized outcomes. So over the last decade, his projects have been featured in outlets like Fast Company Magazine, Wired Magazine, the Washington Post, Yahoo, BuzzFeed, Upworthy, Goalcast, and many, many more. His videos have been viewed over 250 million times, and he has spoken to hundreds of thousands of audience members across the United States. He's also just a really, really cool guy. More than anything, Kyle hopes that his story, the things he shares with us today, can inspire us to chase our own crazy ideas and become the people we were meant to be. Please help me welcome to the stage Kyle Sheely. You're so fun, Kyle.
Good morning. I want to tell you a story. The year is 2003. The setting is a small town of Rogersville, Missouri. I'm 17 years old. It's my senior year of high school, and I'm in a bit of a pickle. I need gas money. I need money for, the things that high school seniors need money for. I want to be able to go to basketball games. I want to be able to buy new shoes. I want to take my girlfriend on dates. Does my girlfriend technically exist? No. Do I have any real prospects? Listen, we're getting off the subject. The important thing here is that I needed money, but as we all know, time is money, and I didn't have any time between school and extracurriculars, a full class load. I was student body president. I'm applying to colleges. I just didn't really have any time to get a part-time job. And so I get this crazy idea that in order to raise a little bit of spending cash, I'm going to start a business designing and selling the dumbest t-shirts that you can possibly imagine to my even dumber friends. So I fire up a laptop that I borrow from one of these friends. I fire up his copy of Adobe Illustrator, and I use it to design my first masterpiece. It was an ivory-colored shirt, and across the chest, it proudly proclaimed this timeless truth that we all know: osteoporosis is bad to the bone. This shirt sold like hotcakes, and I took the profits from that first shirt, and I poured them into the next shirt, and the next shirt. Shirts like, friends don't let friends watch friends, name calling is for sissies, and of course, Lyme disease ticks me off. This is highbrow humor that we're dealing with, and I'm learning about business on the fly. It's going well. I'm making money. I'm able to actually buy my own product, which was not true in the earlier shirts, and I'm taking that money and I'm learning about business. I'm learning about inventory management and cost of goods sold, and I'm Googling, can a 17-year-old be charged as an adult for sales tax evasion? Business, right? And then one day, disaster strikes. I'm sitting in my homeroom class, working on my latest masterpiece, and a voice comes over the intercom that says, "Kyle Sheely, please report to the principal's office." God, that's still scary. 20 years later, I put that slide up there, and it stopped my heart a little bit. This is John Hetherington, my high school principal, and he says the words that you always want to hear your high school principal say. He goes, "Kyle, why don't you shut the door?" So I shut the door, and I sort of slink into a seat, and he goes, "Mr. Sheely, I understand you become something of a fashion icon around here." I nervously laugh, and he goes, "Listen, honestly, I love it. I love the hustle. I love the drive. I love the entrepreneurial spirit. I love that you've created something. You're pouring yourself into it. That's amazing, Kyle. I even love the shirts. I think the shirts are great. There is one problem, though. You have to understand that from my perspective as a high school principal, I can't have you running a business on school grounds." And of course, we all know this is true, right? If you let one kid do something, it doesn't matter how innocent that is. Every other kid thinks that they get to do whatever they want as well. So if he lets me run my little t-shirt company, we all know what happens, right? Drug cartels take over the whole school. That's the logical extension. And so I thought, you know what? You're right. And I said, "Mr. Hetherington, you're absolutely right. I apologize. I cannot, nay, I shall not be running a business on these hallowed school grounds." And he sort of looked surprised. He was like, "Okay, well, thanks, Kyle. I'm glad that we had this talk." And I was like, "Hold on, follow-up question, Mr. H. Where do school grounds end, technically speaking?" Next day, we're back in business, baby. One small change to the business plan. Now, whenever you want to buy a t-shirt from me, you and I will meet in the parking lot after school. You'll get your money. I'll get the t-shirt. We will walk to the edge of the parking lot, to the edge of Farm Road 194. Then we will look both ways for safety. Once the coast is clear, we will step into the street and complete the transaction just inches off of school property. To his credit, he did say, and this is a direct quote, "As long as you don't get hit by a car, it's okay by me." Wise words from a wise man. Well, I graduate high school, and this presents a problem because now I've lost access to my customer base. And so I scramble, and I think, you know what? This is actually a blessing in disguise. I'm kind of done selling these t-shirts in ones and twos. I have my sights set on retail, specifically on this store, Urban Outfitters. Urban Outfitters, in my mind, this was the peak of teen retail. This is where my customers belonged. This is where my t-shirts needed to be. Full disclosure, I had never actually been inside of an Urban Outfitters before. I was from rural Missouri, but I had heard about this legend of this store, and I'd seen their website, and I thought, this is the place for me. One problem, Urban Outfitters did not share my excitement about this idea. I remember I found their corporate headquarters phone number. They're located in Philadelphia, and I called the number. This woman answers the phone. Yeah, Philadelphia. And this woman answers the phone, and she says, "Urban Outfitters, how may I direct your call?" I said, "Yes, I would love to speak with someone in your buying department, please." And she said, "Yeah, do you have a specific name?" I said, "I sure do. My name's Kyle. Love to speak to someone in your buying department," like I said. And she goes, "No, I need the specific name of someone in our buying department." And I was like, "Lady, that seems like a thing you should know. But hey, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job. Just push one of those buttons. I'll figure it out." And she was like, "No, sir, I know their names. I need to know if you know their names. I can't page you through without that. It's a very small team, and we don't want to waste their time, and we don't mean to be elitist, but it is kind of a don't call us, we'll call you situation." And I said, "Okay, how about this? How about I'll send you some of my shirts. I'll overnight them to your office. You can take a look, wear them out on the town, feel how soft they are, how nice they feel against your skin. Notice the laughs that you get from people when you wear these shirts out. And when you love these shirts, and I'm confident that you will, then show them to one of those specifically named buyers you keep mentioning. And she said, sir, unfortunately, we can't do that either. As a company, Urban Outfitters has a very strict policy. We do not accept unsolicited packages. Now, the reasonable thing to do in that situation would be to give up on that idea and to stop wasting this woman's time, to hang up the phone. And I did most of that. I hung up the phone. I stopped wasting her time. I was about to give up on the idea entirely. And then I remembered a story that my dad told me when I was just a little kid. A story of another man. And this man, too, had been told, we do not accept unsolicited packages. But this man thought if the package is compelling enough, they might accept it out of curiosity alone. And so, inspired by this man's story, I began to construct a large wooden horse. Then I realized how expensive it would be to get this thing to Philadelphia. So I scaled my operation back, and I got a suitcase. I got a vintage suitcase. I put all of my best-selling shirts, my favorite designs inside, each folded precisely so the graphic faced up when you opened the suitcase. On top of it all, I put a folded pair of vintage corduroy Levi's. Except when you picked up the pants, they opened up into a book. And inside was a catalog with all of our pricing and contact information, the company story, the whole 9 yards. I put all of this into the suitcase, closed the lid, and then like Miriam sending Moses down the Nile, I just dropped this basket of my hopes and dreams into the river of the United States Postal Service. And about a week later, my phone rang. And I said, hello, this is Kyle. And a voice on the other end said, Kyle, my name is Don. I work for Urban Outfitters. And I was like, Don, that is a specific name. I said, Don, what can I do for you? And he said, Kyle, your suitcase is sitting on my desk. And I said, oh, interesting, Don. Sounds like you do accept unsolicited packages. He laughed. He said, we made an exception for you, Kyle. Honestly, we love these shirts, and we'd love to carry them in our stores. Fast forward a little bit, and these shirts, these admittedly very dumb shirts that came from the even dumber ideas in my head and my heart, they were now being sold at Urban Outfitters stores all across the United States. But they were also sold at one other Urban Outfitters store, one store that to me was more important than all the rest combined because this one store happened to be in Toronto. And that was the store that allowed me to begin introducing myself to girls at college parties as Kyle Sheely, international fashion designer. I'm so grateful for that story, and I'm grateful for when it happened. I'm grateful that it happened, but I'm more grateful for when it happened because I think it happened at a really crucial moment for me. See, I believe that all of us, everyone in this room, but everyone in this city, everyone in this world, came into this world with tremendous creative capacity. Tremendous capacity for innovation, for ideation, for solving old problems by combining, solving new problems by combining old ideas into new ones. And if you don't believe me, like, there's a test you can do. Just go into any kindergarten classroom in the country and say, how many of you guys are artists? Watch as every hand flies into the air. Not one of those kids doubts it. They fly into the air because they want to tell you their story. They want you to pick them. They want to show you their picture. They want to sing you their song, but then come back and ask that question in first grade, and in second grade, and in third grade. And as the years go up, those hands start to come down, don't they? Why? Well, because of the pressure, obviously. Pressure that builds from the outside, sure. But I think if we're honest with ourselves, that pressure builds from the inside, too. Pressure to be reasonable. Pressure to be realistic. Pressure to like pick a goal that's maybe like a little bit more achievable, a little bit less ambitious. And for me, right as that pressure was building to its peak, my senior year of high school, all of a sudden this happens. And now I have this concrete evidence that sometimes the most reasonable thing you can do is just to chase the craziest idea that you can. And so over the last 20 years, that's what I've done. I've chased a lot of crazy ideas. I've had some wild successes. I've had some even wilder, very public failures. But along the way, I've learned a thing or two. And so today I want to talk to you about why you should chase your crazy ideas. And why you should not only do that for yourself, but why you should build an organizational culture within your team and your organization, your company, where ideas are the natural byproduct of that culture. Where the best ideas are found and they're resourced, they're nourished, they're launched out to change the world. And there are a lot of reasons I want to talk about why, and then I want to talk about how. When it comes to why, there's a lot of reasons why you could chase crazy ideas, but there's one particular one that I want to focus on today. And that's the expansion of the window of possibility. Every idea that you ever chase, whether you succeed or fail or land somewhere in between, it'll teach you something. And so often what my ideas have taught me is that I'm a really bad judge of what is or is not possible. I'll go after an idea and I'll think, okay, if everything goes great, it'll land here. If everything fails, it'll land here. And you know where it never lands? Anywhere in here. It's always over there or over there or over there or over there or somewhere I never anticipated. But it's almost never within the window of possibility that I envisioned. About 10 years ago, there was this book. It was a very controversial book, but also a very successful book. It was like flying off the shelves at the same time as it was being boycotted. That book, of course, was called 50 Shades of Grey. If there's any pervy soccer moms in the crowd, you probably read it. Or pervy soccer dads, no judgment here. I did not read it, but I also didn't find it controversial for the same reason that everyone else did. People found that book controversial because it has a lot of explicit content in it. I found the book controversial for a totally different reason. See, I, as an artist, happen to know there are far more than 50 shades of gray. Are you kidding me? Like even by the most conservative way of measuring it, there's a thing in the art world known as grayscale. Grayscale goes from 0 to 100. 0 in grayscale is white, 100 is black, which means that 1 through 99 are by definition shades of gray. And I thought, if there's 99 of these bad boys out there and they're only showing us 50, what are they trying to hide, right? What's going on over here? So I decided someone needed to get to the bottom of this story, and that was going to be me. And I was going to publish my own book, a tell-all book, no holds barred. And that book was called 99 Shades of Gray. I can't stress this enough. The content of this book was literally just 99 different shades of gray. That was it. Like the book that inspired this one, this book started out light, but it did get pretty dark by the end. Thank you. That's not even in the top 3 dumbest jokes in this talk, so buckle up. I put this book on a website called Kickstarter.com, and I was trying to raise $600. We had negotiated with the printer to get down to $600, but if I'm honest with you, I thought, there's no way we're going to sell $600 of this book. This is not a $600 joke. And I remember I emailed my friends the day I launched the project. I emailed some of my closest friends, and I said, hey, just so you know you guys are probably talking about this. You're probably worried about me. I also know this is going to fail. I just think it'll be a funny story to tell later on. Well, I was right and I was wrong. It was a funny story to tell later on, but it didn't fail. In the end, I ended up just slightly exceeding my $600 goal, and I raised $9,944 from 431, let's call them what they are, idiots, okay? Around the world who gave me money for this project. And those idiots lived in a dozen different countries. We had to ship all over the world and navigate international customs. And then we put a copy of this book into the Library of Congress because, I don't know if you know this, but that's a thing you can do as a United States citizen. Over and over and over again, I found that when you chase a crazy idea, it goes better than you expect. And so that can lead to something that's known as a virtuous cycle, where you chase this idea and it goes better than you expect. So next time you go, why don't we start here? And then next time, and next time. And I believe that there are ideas in this room that will change not only how IT and support and your industry works, but how our entire world works and how we live and work and our families and our communities. I think there are amazing ideas in the room here and in the teams represented here, but I don't think we're going to get them today. And I don't think we're going to get them tomorrow. I think we're going to get them 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, and we will only get them if we start today by chasing the craziest ideas that we can. So how do we do it? Well, just like a plant has needs, plants need air and water and soil and light. And if you put a plant in that environment and it has those things in the right proportion, you don't have to do anything else. The plant will just grow from there because that's what plants do. Ideas are the same way. If you put an idea inside of an environment where it has its needs met, the idea will flourish. But if you put it in an environment where one or more of these needs are not met, you will find that it doesn't matter how much you want it to flourish, how much you want to talk about your culture of innovation, how great the break room is and all the amenities. If you do not support the ideas and the needs of the ideas, they will fail. Luckily, like air and water and soil and light, these are very simple things. The first thing that every idea needs is a chance. Ideas need an opportunity. And this is because there's a quote from Warren Buffett that I think the people in this room will be very familiar with. It says, what the human being is best at doing is interpreting all new information so that their prior conclusions remain intact. I would imagine that some of the people that you've dealt with in IT support, they said, no, I did enter my password 15 times. And you're like, I'm watching your screen, and you have done nothing this entire time, right? And so sometimes, what happens is we decide on a belief, and then it doesn't matter if evidence comes in and contradicts that. If you believe something, and I can show you at proof that the thing that you believe is false, most of us will not change our belief. Most of us will do one of two things. First, we'll ignore what you said. We'll pretend we didn't hear it. We'll try to brush it under the rug. We'll just some version of that. Or two, we'll twist it. We'll go, actually, I know what you're saying. Well, if you look at it like this, and if you turn around, if you kind of squint one and lift the leg, that's actually validating what I was saying the whole time. Your brain is not a truth-seeking machine. It is a belief justification machine. And so when you decide on a belief, your brain goes to work defending that belief. And here's how this plays out in creative work. Many of us have decided, I'm not a creative person. Oh, I'm just the IT guy. Oh, I just run the sales team. Oh, I'm just the boss. Or I just do this thing. And we've reduced our humanity to this one role. And we forget that that's not true. There's no such thing as a not creative person. All of us are tremendously creative. Anytime you make something new, whether that's a spreadsheet or a sculpture, it's still a creative act. But when you decide I'm not creative, your brain will go to work defending that belief. It won't look for evidence that it's not true. It won't try to disprove it. It'll just look for evidence that it's true. And that's a sad thing to do to yourself. But man, that's a travesty to do to the people that you lead. And so many of us have decided, oh, that's Todd, he's just the sales guy. Oh, that's so-and-so, she answers the phones. Oh, that's the guy that sweeps the floor, whatever. And we forget that that's actually a human being who has like had a vast life experience. They're 40, 50 years old. They've worked for you for like 6 months, which means they have decades and decades of human life experience during which they might have solved the exact problem that you're trying to solve. Or they might have a piece of that solution, but you have decided that they're not creative. This is a tandem bicycle. I bought this at an antique store that was going out of business, and they gave me a deal I couldn't refuse. I brought this thing home in my truck, set it up in the driveway, and my wife was like, oh my gosh, Kyle, you are so sweet. A bicycle built for two. This is so romantic. We're going to go ride in the park. We'll put a little bell, and we'll put a little basket. We'll go have picnics, and we'll go ride to the ice cream shop. And she's like already envisioning all this stuff, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Woman, what are you talking about? I did not buy this for you. I bought this bike because when I looked at this, I thought the same thing that you thought, which is, if you chop the back seat of that off and you put a horse's butt back there, then when you ride on the front of the bike, you'll look like a centaur. Now, everywhere I ride, I'm the centaur of attention. I told you there were worse jokes coming. I promised you that. I made this bike because I wanted to, but here's the truth about this. Everything I just told you is true, but there's a big part that I left out, which was between the time that I bought the bike and I built the bike. It sat in my garage for a very, very long time. And here's why. Because I decided, in my mind, I had this belief, it's too hard for me. Someone else has probably already done this idea. I'll get laughed at if I do this idea. It's not going to work. I made up this whole story about how this was not possible, and I believed it, and I didn't give that idea a chance. When I finally did give that idea a chance, this bike, videos about it have been viewed 16 million times. Pee Wee Herman posted about this bike on his website. A couple years ago, I got an email from my downtown association, and they said, we're looking for people to participate in our Christmas parade. And as soon as I saw that email, 2 words popped in my head. Probably the same 2 words that popped into your head. Centaur Claus, right? I decided I'll be Centaur Claus. My daughter can ride on my back. She'll be my elf. And we'll ride around spreading Christmas cheer. And it turned into this entire thing. It was this amazing. It's opened up so many doors, so many opportunities, so much joy for my kid, a memory that we'll never forget. And it almost didn't happen because I almost didn't give that idea a chance. The second thing that every idea needs is a home. Ideas need a place to live because in addition to being a belief justification machine, there's one other thing your brain's really good at doing, and that's pattern recognition. And there's a reason that the day after you buy a white Honda Odyssey, what do you notice all over town? All the other white Honda Odysseys, right? And there's 2 possible explanations for that. The first one is that you're a trendsetter, baby. The day that you bought that car, all the who's who in your town were like calling the dealer. They're like, I need a white Honda Odyssey and I need it today. Okay, I don't care what it costs. I don't care. I need it today, right? We'll entertain that as a possibility. But I think what's more likely is that you gave your brain a new pattern to lock onto. And here's the crazy thing. You didn't ask it to do that. And you weren't even aware that it was doing it. That's just what your brain does all the time, is pattern recognition. Here's how this works in creative work. Every time you have an idea, if you go, huh, and that's it, eventually your brain goes, stop putting these out there. This is a waste of our resources, right? We're not doing anything with these. But if every time you have an idea, you go, I'm going to write it down. I'm going to put it into this system. It doesn't matter what it is. You're teaching your brain, I value ideas. It can be a Google Doc. It can be some internal software that you have. It can be an email that gets sent around. It can be an offsite. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you have a place where you put ideas. It can be something as simple as if you were a kid during the 90s, you'll recognize this from Blue's Clues. This is Steve's handy dandy notebook. Good class. A notebook's a great place for ideas. I keep notebooks all the time. This is just a fraction of them. I had way more, but I was like, this is a rectangle. That's good enough for PowerPoint because I'm lazy. And so in preparation for this talk, I went back and looked through a bunch of old notebooks because I have a policy. I write down every idea. If it's good, I definitely write it down. If it's middle of the road, I don't know if it's good, I definitely write it down. If it is bad, I write it down because sometimes later on that bad idea will spark a good one. Or sometimes it'll just make me laugh, and I know I'll always need to laugh. So in preparation for this talk, I went back through a bunch of these notebooks and I looked for ideas that I had found that I'd forgotten about. And just full disclosure, none of these are any good. This first one just says, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have no idea why I wrote that down. This is a website idea I had called don'tnameyourkidthat.com. And it's like sort of like a reverse baby name book. Like you tell me what you're thinking about naming a human being, and then I'm going to get a focus group together of the meanest 7th and 8th grade boys that I can find. And I'm going to go, how would you make fun of a kid who has this name? And then we'll give you that information ahead of time so you can make an educated decision. This is a logo I designed for a group called the Foundation for the Advancement of Ridiculous Things, or FART for short. This is an observational drawing. This is called the guy from the Punisher logo while he was still alive. For those of you who aren't familiar, this is the Punisher logo. You've definitely seen it on a lifted truck from some guy who probably should have gone to therapy, but he spent that money on an F-150. And it's supposed to look really intimidating and scary, but I just think those aren't even sharp teeth. They're just really long teeth, right? And that guy would have just looked really weird. So a notebook's a great place for an idea, but for your organization, ideas need a place to live as well. Here's a question that I have for you as a leader. Do the people on your team know two things? Number one, do they know the problems that you're working on? Do they know the things that keep you as a leader up at night? The things that you're trying to figure out to move the business forward, to solve the problems, to make the operation more efficient? Like, do they know those things? And then number two, do they know what do they do if they have an idea that can solve one of those things? Do they know both of those? Because if they don't know, how does an idea get implemented? What's the process for approval? What resources are available? What kind of time can I devote to something like this? If they don't know both those things, and here's what happens to the ideas that could solve your problems, make your life easier, make your business more efficient, all of those things. Here's what happens to those ideas. Are you ready? Nothing. Nothing happens to them. And you never hear about them. You never know they exist. They come into your employee's mind. They go away, and they never come to you. And here's the crazier part. You will pay those people the same amount of money, whether you get the ideas out of them or not. But luckily, just like with your own ideas, it doesn't have to be a complicated thing. It can be a shared Google Doc. It can be an offsite that you take your team to once a quarter, once a week, once a year. It doesn't matter. What matters is that there is a process and that your people are aware of it. Third thing that every idea needs is a time and place. Ideas have to have a birthday, and you have a birthday. The reason that you have a birthday is because in order to exist in this room right now, you had to start existing at some point 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever years ago. It's not really important what particular day you started existing, just that it was in the general time that was long enough ago that you could be here now. But we're not content with this for our ideas, are we? This says a time and place, but what do we want? Oh, no. We want a time and place, not for my idea. The time and place. That's what I need, the perfect time and place. And then we talk ourselves out of why this is not the perfect time and place, and that gives us an out. We don't have to launch this idea because, oh man, if only I'd had this idea before I had kids, but now I'm so busy. I've got car line and pickup and lunches, and oh man, if only I'd had this idea before I got this new promotion. I've got all these new responsibilities. Or, oh man, interest rates are high. This would be a perfect rate or idea of when interest rates were a little bit better. Oh, we're coming into a presidential election. That's a little bit tricky. Oh, now we're coming out of a presidential election. We should let that cool off a little bit. Oh, no, we're headed back into another one. I don't know if you guys know this. They just keep coming around, right? You can't keep using that as an excuse, but we do. We use anything as an excuse for why this is not the perfect moment to launch this idea, and that's a trap. During the pandemic, I was a public speaker. Wouldn't recommend it, honestly. Not a great time to be a public speaker during a global pandemic, because one specific reason that you might have noticed, there was no public back then. There was not a lot of public. We were all kind of doing our own thing, and so I watched my entire business collapse overnight, and I like my financial future was very scary. I went from having this fully booked out calendar to everything was canceled for the entire year. I didn't know if I was going to be able to pay my bills, and I was stressed and I was anxious, and I was looking for what are healthy ways to deal with these emotions. And I found one. There's this new technique. It just came out in the last 5 or 10 years, and a lot of people don't even know about it, but it's called scrolling. And so you just look at your phone. That's all you have to do really is just look at your phone and then just kind of whatever comes up there, and then the problems just go away. I did later find out they come back, and sometimes they're worse. But for a minute, though, the dopamine is just going right into the old brainstem. And so I was scrolling primarily on an app called TikTok. And for those of you who aren't familiar, you can think of TikTok as like cigarettes for your brain. We all know it's going to kill us. It's taken years off our life. But also, every time you use it, it gives you a little buzz. So, kind of got to balance that. So for me, I was chain smoking TikToks back then. I was just all day long. I had nothing better to do. And so I would scroll and I would find these funny videos and I would send them to my friends. And some of my friends would send videos back. Some of them would ha-ha, laugh, react emoji. Some of them would block my number, whatever. But the important thing is I had this one friend, Andy. And Andy would always, anytime I would send him a video, he would write back and go, Kyle, these videos are great. Why aren't you posting videos on TikTok? You're an idiot and all your projects are dumb and the internet loves stuff like that. I think you could go viral. And I was like, I think you should think about how you talk to people. But I actually think you're right, Andy. I think I could go viral about a year ago. See, there had been this moment right before the pandemic when all of the public consciousness found out about TikTok and everybody checked it out. But there weren't a ton of people actually producing content at that time. So there was an imbalance between creation and consumption. And so if you were making content on TikTok at that time, you were almost guaranteed to get a viral video at some point. They were handing them out like Halloween candy. It was like Oprah was like, you get a viral video, you get a viral video, everyone gets a viral video. Like that's what it was like. And then the system kind of equalized, as systems tend to do. And about a year later, like the odds weren't as good. The gold rush was kind of over, and that's when I came into the picture. And I was like, yeah, I think if only I had done it then, that would have been the perfect time for my ideas. But it's okay, I don't need to post. And then I used that as an excuse for like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, like almost a year went by. I didn't post anything, and then one day this idea popped up into the back of my head, and it was like, what if you're just scared? What if that's not true, that whole story that you've been telling? Or what if it is true, but here's what's also true, Kyle. People went viral yesterday. People will go viral today. People will go viral tomorrow. Maybe the gold rush is over, but there's still nuggets out there to be found. What if you're just a coward? And I couldn't live with that, so I was like, I gotta try it. So I dusted myself off, and I picked myself up, and I posted my first TikTok video. And do you know what happened immediately? Nothing. That's what will happen to you when you post your first TikTok video too. Nothing. Nobody saw that. It was crickets. And so I got back up, tried again, second day, posted my second TikTok video. And now we're kind of moving, right? 2 points makes a line. I don't mean to brag or anything, but at this point I had accumulated 17 followers. So things are going pretty good, right? We're in the double digits, and you're like, okay, Kyle, 17 is not a lot. Yeah, but draw a line from 0 to like infinity. 17 is on that line, I promise you that. It is towards the beginning, I'll give you that, but 17. So then I'm like, okay, we're moving. And then I posted my third TikTok video. My third TikTok video was about this photograph. This is my family. I'm obviously the cutest one. I'm down here in the red striped shirt. My brother's over here in the blue. My cousins are on the side. My uncles are up top. My mom and dad are in the middle. For reasons that are probably crystal clear to you, my dad hates this picture. Because I don't know why, maybe the photographer had a personal vendetta against my dad, but for whatever reason, he made only my father tilt his head at what we can all agree is like a 45-degree angle. That's an extreme amount of tilt. Everyone else in this family is in like standard font. My dad's like in italics over here, just... My dad hates this picture, but my mom loves this picture, and if you're married, I bet you can guess how that argument ended up. So the picture still hangs in my parents' house. It's been there for 35 years. It hangs in their dining room. This poor sucker has to eat every one of his meals with this like looming over him. And one day we're sitting at dinner, and this become like a family joke, and we make fun of my dad for it and how much he hates this picture, and we're sitting at dinner, and all of a sudden I realize, Kyle, you're an artist. You have Photoshop. You could fix this problem. So I waited till my parents went out of town. I snuck in, I took the picture off the wall, immediately ran into a snag. This was a professionally hung picture, which meant it had paper covering the back. I razor bladed right through that and took it out, scanned it in, put it back, and then I was like, what if they look at the back of this picture and realize it's been tampered with? You know how sometimes people take pictures off their wall after 35 years and closely investigate the back of them? So I knew that happens all the time. So I took it to a frame shop, had them put new paper on the back. I wanted to cover my tracks. I put it back. They never knew it had been tampered with. And then I went into Photoshop, and I meticulously fixed my dad's head. That's pretty nice, huh? Huh? Round of applause for me. I was like patting myself on the back. I'm thinking, I'm already practicing my Son of the Year acceptance speech, you know. I'm like, this is going to be great. He's going to love this. I've solved my dad's biggest problem. Everything is great. But then as I was about to send this to print, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, there's just something that's not right about this. I was like, oh, I think I know what it is. You know what would be funnier? I took 7.5 hours of Photoshop, and I have no regrets about how I spent that time. So I posted that story that I just told you. I told that story on TikTok, and I posted that video to my 17 followers. And then I went for a walk. And it was an unseasonably warm day in late December. It was really nice out, and I was like, I'm going to enjoy the weather while we've got it. I get about halfway through this walk, and I get to the turnaround point of this little trail, and I look down at my phone. I go, whoa, I have 100 followers. That's crazy. Put my phone back in my pocket, walk back to the office, get back to the office, look down at my phone. Whoa, I have 1,000 followers. That's kind of crazy. I text Andy, my buddy who had been encouraging me this whole time. I'm like, Andy, dude, I have 1,000 followers. Put my phone in my pocket, grab my bag, head down to my truck. I'm about to get into my truck. My phone buzzes. I look down. It's Andy. He texts me back. What are you talking about, Kyle? You have 2,000 followers. I get home. I have 3,000 followers. I eat dinner. I have 4,000 followers. I do the dishes. I have 5,000 followers. Andy is going nuts right now. He's like, dude, this is crazy, Kyle. This is exactly what I said was going to happen. You're going viral. I told you, dude. You're going to have 10,000 followers by midnight. Kyle, you're going to have 10,000 followers by midnight. He was so close. At midnight, I had 500,000 followers. And the next day, I had 1 million. I went from 17 followers, not 1,700, not 17,000, 17 individual followers. That's like these two tables right here, probably minus 3 people, right? Like to 1 million followers, which I think is roughly how many people are in this room right now. And I did that in 25 hours. I did it on a video that I almost didn't post, because I almost didn't post any of them. See, so many times we wait for the right time and place. Every idea needs the right time and place. That's a trap. There's no such thing. Now is the right time and place. And you might look back in 10 years and go, man, that was the worst time to start that business. Or you might look back and say it was the best time. You don't know. But my guess is that if I had to wager money, that you'll wish you had started earlier. I don't meet very many people who go, just wish I would have waited a couple more years to start that idea. It's always, I wish I had more time. There's a quote from Oliver Wendell Holmes that haunts me and it should haunt you. He said, alas for those that never sing but die with all their music in them. We all know people like this who've been talking for years about the company they're going to start, the book they're going to write, the app they're going to make, whatever it is. And then the first time you hear about it, you're like, that's an amazing idea. I can't wait to see this. And then the second time you hear about it is 5 years later, and it's the same speech that you heard the first time. And you're like, yeah, what's going on with that? And they're like, oh, I'm about to get started. I'm just waiting for this thing to cool down, or my kids to graduate, or this job to get a little easier, whatever. And then it's 10 years, and then it's 15 years. And at some point, that person who's been talking about writing a book, you start to wonder, is there even a Word document that exists for this book? Is there an outline? Are there notes scratched onto a pad anywhere? Or is this just a thing that they're waiting for the perfect time and place? Waiting for the perfect time and place is a perfect recipe to die with all your music in you. Fourth thing that every idea needs is a bodyguard. Ideas are really powerful things, but only at the end. Only once they've grown up and figured out what they're going to be. One single full-grown idea can topple a government. It can flip the world on its head. It can change the entire economic outcome of a company or of an industry or of the world. But only at the end. At the beginning, man, they're so fragile. They're so fragile. And I would bet that everyone in this room has had an idea killed by someone that you looked up to going, really? That's stupid. That'll never work. Wiped off the map. And that idea was never given a chance. We have to bodyguard our ideas. When I was a kid, and especially in high school and college, I really wanted to be a kid's book writer. And I worked so hard. I was in writing groups, and I was taking writing classes, and I was working on stories and sharing and getting critique and feedback. And then I got to this point where it was like, okay, it's time to how do I get this book published? I did the worst thing that you can do in that situation. I Googled it. I typed in, how do you get a kid's book published? And the reason that's a bad idea is because how Google works is it just goes and looks around the internet for other people who are talking about that and shows you what they said. And what people on the internet say about how do you get a kid's book published is, it's really hard. It's really hard. And they tell all their stories, and there are whole communities and forums and groups and of people who talk about, well, man, I've been trying to get a kid's book published, and for 10 years I've sent it to 1 million agents, and I can't get one agent to look at it. Or I got an agent, and then they ruined my deal because they're incompetent. Or I got a deal, and then the publisher went belly up, and now my IP's in limbo. Any way that your dream can go sour, the internet will show you that. So when I typed in, how do you get a kid's book published? Basically what Google said was, bro, you don't get a kid's book published. And I'm ashamed to say this, but after reading all that stuff, I gave up on that dream entirely. I stopped going to the classes. I stopped going to the groups. I put my stories in a drawer. I gave up on the idea entirely. And then one day, 6-7 years later, I was at a pizza place. And the person in front of me said, I want a pizza with everything on it. And I laughed. And my wife was like, why'd you laugh? And I go, because he said he wants a pizza with everything on it. That's not a real thing. He wants a pizza with 6 things on it. And go, a pizza with everything on it would have the whole restaurant on it, babe. Would have the whole city, really, actually, and the state and the country. Actually, it would probably have the whole world on it. And then it would, at some point, it would get too big and it would collapse on its own weight, and then it would form a black hole, obviously, and it would destroy the galaxy. And my wife was like, are you okay? Do you want to sit down? And I was like, I do want to sit down, because that's a kid's book. And I pulled out a notebook, and I still have it. I wrote this book idea down, a pizza with everything on it. And it's the story about what you just heard, a pizza, this kid that wants to make a pizza with everything on it, gets too big, collapses, destroys the galaxy, remakes it out of pizza. Those strong moral messages from that. No, there's no message to it. It's just a ridiculous, silly story. But for whatever reason, this time I decided not to give up on it. And I'm glad that I didn't, because a few years later, this book came out. It's called The Pizza with Everything on It. This book has over 750 5-star reviews on Amazon. Amazon called it one of the best children's books of the year. It's won all sorts of awards and accolades, and a couple years ago, I started getting this picture texted to me from all my friends, and I was like, what is this? And they were like, that's your book. And I was like, no, I know that. What is the thing? And it was the Amazon Christmas catalog. They got sent to every person's house in the country. We filled landfills with these bad boys. That's my bad. And most of this was designed to sell your kid an Xbox, but there was a couple pages in there where they're like, didn't we used to be a bookstore? Let's throw some books in here. And so they put my book in there. And a few weeks ago, the sequel came out. It's called A Sunday with Everything on It. And so the last few weeks have been really fun as people are sharing pictures of them reading this. I don't know if you see that. That's a Nintendo Switch, and those kids are reading my book instead. So if that's not a testimonial. Amazon put up a billboard in New York City with my book on it, which is crazy. And that's cool, but what's even cooler is I get all these pictures and videos and stories, like parents DM me, and they're like, my kid will not go to bed without reading your book. And my book is like, it's about a dad and a kid going on this adventure. So a lot of times this is the story that the dad reads to the kid. And so I have all these videos of like, they look like hidden camera footage. Like there's a half of a door frame in the footage because the wife is trying to capture the moment that the husband's like being goofy and silly. And she knows that if he sees the camera, he won't do the voices, you know? And so I've got like these blurry like videos of people I don't know reading this story. And then I have videos like this. This is a kid I've never met before learning to read with the story that I wrote.
That's perfect. But I said no.
Listen, we could be here all day. She's not a good reader, but she'll get there. And I got to be honest, every time I see a video like that, or every time one of those amazing things happens, or Amazon puts it on a billboard or a catalog, part of me is like, oh my gosh, like, how did this happen to someone like me? And I see those videos and it melts my heart, but if I'm honest with you, it also breaks my heart a little bit. Because there is a part of me, every time I see one of those videos that goes, hey buddy, that's pretty cool, but how many more of those would you have? How many more videos like that would you have on your phone? How many more stories would you have put out into the world? How many more moments would you have created between parents and kids? How many more smiles and laughs and giggles would you have put out into the world if you hadn't listened to all the people who told you why your idea wouldn't work? Ideas need bodyguards, and sometimes you have to bodyguard your own ideas, but as a leader, you definitely have to bodyguard the ideas of the people on your team. Every organization has a self-appointed devil's advocate. There's always a guy, it's always a guy, I don't know why, who has decided it's his job to tell everyone why their idea won't work. And you need that guy eventually, but not at the beginning. At the beginning, maybe send him to a conference or something. Maybe you guys are that guy. Maybe that's why you're here. But you need to protect those innovators. You need to protect the people on your team. And you need to protect the people in your life, your family, your kids. Because let me tell you this, there will be plenty of people. The role of devil's advocate, hey, it's filled. No more applicants are needed. We got a deep bench, actually. But there will be plenty of people who will tell your kid why their ideas won't work. And sometimes all they need is one person to go, hey, maybe it will. Every idea needs a bodyguard. The last thing that every idea needs is a crew. There's this myth in the American psyche about the self-made man, the self-made woman, the Elons, the Kanyes, the Beyoncés, the Taylor Swifts of the world. And it's not true. It's not true. There's no such thing as a self-made man or woman. All of those people, if you dig into anyone's story who's successful, you will find one of a few things. Like one, they came out of a community of people and they all worked together and then they all like collaborated and bounced ideas around and all those ideas and all those people rose to different levels of success and then maybe one person shot to the top. Or sometimes you'll find like they had all this potential, but they also had a lot of baggage. They had to pay the bills and mow the lawn and send the kids to school and pack the lunches. And they knew that like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get off the runway with that. I won't be able to get off the launch pad. And so like they had a partner or a spouse or a friend who said, I'll carry that weight so that you can go because I see the potential in your vision. Or sometimes they just had really rich parents. A lot of times it's really rich parents. The truth is nobody ever does anything alone. Those people, when they get to the top, they hire a PR firm to white all that out of the story and to just like, oh, look at this Wikipedia page with no references to how all this stuff happened. That's what really happened, though. So we need a crew. This is my friend Grant. When I look at these pictures, it kind of breaks my heart because you see this man throwing his life away, marathon running, of all the ways that you could spend your life. And like all people with these debilitating addictions, he's not content to ruin his own life with marathon running. No, he wants to bring all of us into his downward spiral. Look at his poor wife got suckered into it. And then he would, like anytime I would be with him, lunch, coffee, whatever, he'd be like, Kyle, dude, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? And I was like, when am I going to do what, Grant? He was like, when are you going to run a marathon? And I was like, oh, Grant, buddy, my friend, I own a car. Do you see this thing over here? It can drive 26 miles. I don't even have to get up. I'm sitting down the whole time. I can listen to music. It's great. I don't want to run everywhere like an idiot, okay? That's why I was born when I was. And he was like, no, but dude, it's so, you have to do it. It's so much fun. And I was like, okay, that's a lie, dude. These people will lie straight to your face. It's so much fun. Are you kidding me? People die running marathons. And I was like, dude, dying is not fun. And he was like, okay, fair point. Dying, you're right. Maybe fun's the wrong word, but Kyle, it's just so cool to be able to say that you've done that. And I was like, okay, then I'll say that I've done it. Seems easy. He was like, but that's lying. And I was like, right, but Grant, if honesty is the best policy, that means dishonesty is the second best policy. That's still in the top two. And I don't have to run 26 miles. That's a no-brainer. And he said, but Kyle, no one will believe you. And I realized he's right. Like, no one's going to believe me that I've run a marathon. So I thought, well, what would it take to get people to believe me? And I realized it would only take 3 things. Number 1, physical proof. If you look at this picture, Grant has race bibs and T-shirts and medals and plaques. And like some of those race bibs will have his name printed on them, like he was definitely there. And in that culture, if you're not familiar with marathon culture, what you do is you hang those items, like in the entryway of your home, as sort of like a display of dominance over your friends and your guests. So they feel bad about themselves when they're in your house. So I was like, okay, I'll have to find a way to get all that stuff. I can probably figure that out. Number 2, photographic proof. Every marathon runner has a picture of themselves, like halfway through the race, they look like they are on death's door, right? They're just like emaciated and they can't smile because their glycogen stores are depleted and their arms and legs aren't working properly and their eyes are half closed. They look wet and also dry at the same time somehow. It's a very sad picture, but boy, are they proud of that picture, aren't they? They post it on social media, and so I was like, okay, well, I'll have to find a way to fake that picture. That seems easy, okay? And then last but not least, social proof. If I tell you that I ran the HDI SupportWorld Marathon, and you're like, I've never heard of that, and it's not on any of the signs, it's not in the app, like, I don't know, like, you're going to be suspicious. So I thought physical proof, photographic proof, social proof, none of those things require any running. So I had a crazy idea. I'm going to start the world's first fake marathon. The idea was pretty simple. First, you give me money. That's where most of my ideas start. And second, I will give you all of the stuff that you get from a regular marathon. I will send you a race bib with your name on it. I'll send you a T-shirt. I'll send you a medal. I will ship that stuff right to your house. You don't even have to walk down to the mailbox, okay? That's how lazy this is. Right to your door. Boom, physical proof accomplished. For photographic proof, we'll all help out a little bit. You put the bib on, you go outside on the same day, at the same time, take a picture of yourself or have a friend take a picture of you pretending to run. Not actually running, that's very important. That's not a part of this, okay? Maybe spritz some water on your face. Think of like the saddest thing that you can think of, so like you're really in the mindset, and then boom, snap picture. Photographic proof accomplished. And then for social proof, you'll start to accomplish that by posting that picture on social media, use the race hashtag. People click on that hashtag, there's all these other pictures, it starts to look convincing. But to really nail down social proof, we put together a website. And on that website, there was like a race map and a course description and sponsorship opportunities, never know. And then last but not least, race times. After the race, you could log on and see how did you do? How fast were you in this marathon? That was a problem because I actually don't know how long it takes to run a marathon, so I just Googled it, and someone had very helpfully uploaded a spreadsheet of all the New York Marathon finishing times. These are like world-class times. And the great thing about a spreadsheet, as you guys know, is you can just click the column that says runner name and just delete that whole column, and then just put all your names in there. And you're good to go. I called this race Run Free because it was. It was free of running. And we put this up on Kickstarter, and we were trying to raise $1,000. We just slightly overshot our goal, and we ended up raising $23,098 from 592, let's call them what they are, heroes, okay? And those 592 heroes actually represented over 1,000 runners because many of them bought team registrations so they could do it with their friends or their family or their coworkers. And that made the whole thing more convincing because you had pictures like this where people were running like in groups. You had people stretching out together. You had people at the finish line, right? And these 1,000 runners lived in 24 different countries, which kind of presented a problem because the marathon's only supposed to be 26 miles, but ours somehow went under the Eiffel Tower, in front of Big Ben, through Golden Gate Bridge, Gyeongbokgung Palace, Yale University Art Gallery, state capital of Utah, and of course, you got to end up at Disneyland. Towards the end of the campaign, I got a phone call from a business, and they said, we want to sponsor this race. And I was like, listen, are we on the same page here? And they were like, no, we love it, we get it. And so it became Groupon Presents. But that was not the best phone call that I got. The best phone call that I got was from these guys, and they said, we want to put your fake marathon in our real magazine. And I said, absolutely you do. Send me anything you want, and I will sign it. I won't even read it. That's how bad I want this. They sent it to me, and I buried that secret deep in my heart until the day that issue hit newsstands. And as soon as I had the print edition of Runner's World magazine with my marathon in it, in my hands, I called Grant. I said, Grant, buddy, hey, quick question. How many marathons have you run now? And he was like, well, between marathons and half marathons, probably like 15 or 20. Why? And I was like, wow, that's a lot, dude. Congrats. Follow-up question. How many times have you been in Runner's World magazine? And Grant goes, oh, dude, I've never been in Runner's World magazine. I go, fascinating, I have. Click. during the pandemic, I decided to do it again. And so I put it up on TikTok, and I was like, man, last time we got 1,000 people. What if we could get like 5,000 or 10,000 people? We just slightly overshot our goal, and we ended up with 34,477. Oh, sorry, that should be, there we go. And if you're wondering, does that make you bigger than the Boston Marathon? Yes, it does. And I would love to tell you all about it, but I'm almost out of time, so I want to show you this video. This is a video that I posted the day after the race. Yesterday was a day I will never forget, thanks to 34,477 TikTokers who pretended to run a marathon that didn't actually exist. Here's how it happened. Back in 2013, I had this friend who was always bragging about running marathons. So just to mess with him, I made up a fake marathon with a bunch of my friends, and we ended up in Runner's World magazine. Then a few weeks ago, I posted a TikTok about it, and 34,477 of you were like, let's do that again. We printed out fake running bibs, pretended to stretch out, and took pictures and video of ourselves pretending to run.
You can do it, Greta! You're almost done!
I know the internet can be a cesspool of negativity sometimes, but it's stuff like this that reminds me of how great it can be too. Yesterday was this incredibly fun day of watching people all over the world take this silly spark of an idea and bring it to life with their own unbridled creativity and joy. Okay, go! You guys made fake aid stations and even set up fake medical stops, which was good because there turned out to be a lot of fake injuries. You even simulated multiple fake finish lines. It was magnificent. I was a big fan of TikTok already, but yesterday was proof of what can happen when we use this platform for maximum chaotic good. So if that sounds like something you're into, hit that follow button because we are just getting started. Thank you. I will never forget that day. I'll never forget that day. It was one of the wildest days of my life because my work was kind of done ahead of time. Like once the event starts, like it's out of your control. It's just going to do whatever it's going to do. And all day, people would post these funny videos and I would think, well, that's the best one. No one's going to top that. And then someone else would top that. And this community came together around this idea. And people who had never met each other were riffing off each other's videos. They were taking themes and playing them out. People were going nuts. Like people filled up 100 cups of water for a fake marathon. And then they knocked half of them over because that's what happens in a marathon. Like people are running, they're trying to grab a cup. And so just for authenticity, they did that. Other people had their kids hold up signs that said, go mom and dad. There are definitely going to be kids in therapy about that in the future. That's my problem, okay? That's my bad. The ambulance guy, like the best part of that ambulance guy was he was an off-duty paramedic. He found our logo somewhere, printed out a big sign, and at the bottom of it, the best part is it said EMS stop number 2. So in his mind, he'd created a whole cinematic universe where there's another ambulance somewhere else on the route. But if I'm honest with you, I expected the funny stuff. I didn't expect all the heartfelt, meaningful stuff. See, this happened during lockdown. For a lot of people, like this was the only public event that they could do, and it was a fake one. And I don't know if you remember that time or if your brain has just like trauma blocked that out, but man, was that a scary time. I remember going to work every day, and my wife would go, are we going to be okay? Are we going to be able to pay our bills? And I would lie straight to her face and go, yeah, it's going to be fine. And then I would go to work, and I would sit there for like 8 hours with my head in my hands going like, I don't know what's going to happen to my family. I don't know what's going to happen to our world. I don't know if I'm going to be killing deer with sticks in the woods in 2 years after civilization collapses. I had no idea, and it was so scary and so hard. And then in the middle of that, we did this. And I got so many messages afterwards from people saying, Kyle, I didn't realize how heavy everything has been until today when it wasn't. For just a minute, that weight lifted off. There was a video in there, I don't know if you saw it. It was a mom and 2 kids. It was like half a second. And they're just going like this, and they've got their race T-shirts on, and they're just like ear-to-ear grins. Like so much like reckless joy in that photograph. Well, the mom and 2 kids and the kid right here, about this tall, totally bald, because that kid has leukemia. And the mom messaged me afterwards, and she's like, Kyle, every day I'm a mom of a kid with leukemia, and nobody really tells you how to do that job. And it's really tough, and it's really hard, and every day your kid asks if everything's going to be okay, and you have to say, yeah, it's going to be fine, and you don't know if that's true or not. She said, every day I'm a mom of a kid with leukemia, but today, for a minute, I was just a mom. For just like a minute. And she said, Kyle, that was a gift that you gave me. And I was like, lady, I was just trying to mess with my buddy. See, the truth is the ideas that you put out into the world, they're not for you. And they're not for the people that you think that they're for. They are a rock that you throw into a pond, and it sends these ripples out that impact people that you'll never imagine, that you may never meet, may never hear about those stories. But they will only do that if you actually put those ideas into the world. Every story I've told you today, I had no idea if any of those ideas were going to work. I had no idea if they were going to succeed or fail or fall somewhere in between, but I also had no idea of how much connection they would create, how much impact they would create, how many moments of fun and joy they would give people when they needed it most. And the same is going to be true for the ideas that you have. But it's only going to be true if you actually put those ideas out into the world. I'll close with this quote from George Bernard Shaw. He said, the reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. Everything that has ever pushed us forward in society, in our family lives, in IT, in support, all of those industries, anywhere in the world. It got where they are today because somebody saw the way the world was, and they were like, it's not a bad start, but I have an idea for how it could be better. And they didn't bury that idea in their head and their heart and let it rot away, but they put it out in the world and boldly chased after it. Or to put it another way, the day before something is a breakthrough, it's a crazy idea. You guys have been a phenomenal audience. Thank you so much for your time.
That was fantastic. You are so fun. You are so fun. Thank you. Was that great or what? Kyle Sheely, we love you. That was fantastic. All right, in a few minutes, he's going to be out here and signing his book, How to Host a Viking Funeral. And I know you want a copy. I want a copy. We got a full day, so let's cover a couple of things as we head out of here. Expo Hall, there's the hours. You got the note. Should be in the app. We're running a little behind, so Kirk's going to try and talk fast. Don't miss out on the craft beer crawl tonight. Be sure to stick around to try some of those local beers. Remember the Solution Spotlight. Da-da-da, da-da. Lunch and Learn. This is the last day to sign up for that. And tonight, we'll see you again this afternoon, 5 p.m. We want to be back in here for the afternoon keynote with Julia Landauer. Julia is a NASCAR driver and a two-time champion from New York City. Since making history as the first and youngest female champion of the Skip Barber Racing Series at age 14, Julia has amassed dozens of wins in many different racing series. Here's what she's going to teach us about how understanding the biology of fear and how it can help us approach things that scare us. We can approach them with confidence and techniques for how to use technology to support innovative practices. I just think it's the perfect follow-up for what Kyle talked. So these lies we tell ourselves that stop us from taking action. And now we're going to have a follow-up from Mrs. Dana Landauer. So listen, this is going to be a really fun day, a packed day. So go lean in, have a lot of fun, enjoy the expo hall. We'll see you guys around today. Make it a great day.